Library Connection. I'm Mandy Cantrell from the B.B. Comer Memorial Library here in Sylacauga. Before I get started, I want to thank TV47 and Chris and everyone who helps us put on our program. Well, I'm excited today. Tara Douglas from Broadway Spinal Care and lots of other places. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. She's joining me. We're going to talk about the Sylacauga Cemetery and a lot of other things that you're involved with. Great. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I know you guys have been very busy cleaning up the cemetery.
We have.
Yeah. Where is it? And tell us just a little bit about it and how you got involved getting it cleaned up.
The Sylacauga Cemetery is on Fort William, so it's between Broadway and Main Street. So it's right across the parking lot from the First Baptist Church. And that cemetery is quite important because it is the last remaining part of Old Town Sylacauga. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that Sylacauga's downtown was Main Street back in the 1800s. And so that's, the people started buying land here in 1834. We became incorporated in 1838. And so right there at Fort Williams in Maine, that was the hub of downtown. That was the center of downtown.
The center of town.
And none of those buildings remain. So the only thing that we have left from that time is the Sylacauga Cemetery. And so the Historical Commission, we've gotten grants over the years and have been able to do some work restoring it. So there have been grants to restore some of the broken tombstones. There has been a grant to get the fencing done around, because there's some beautiful ironwork around most of the cemetery, but the back part of it, the back corner, never had any fencing. So we're able to get a grant to put more fencing there to protect it better and to have the cemetery enclosed and to work on it. And then through the Beautification Council, we've been working on cleaning it up. So it's been fun to learn a lot of the history of the cemetery and the history of Sylacauga itself.
That is neat. I have been there. It's been a long time, but the times I've been, that I know y'all have done a lot of work. It needed a lot of work.
It did.
Well, it's been there a long time.
It's an old cemetery, but that's part of its charm, is that it is old.
And it's the oldest part of Old Town. I've heard that phrase, Old Town Sylacauga.
And Old Town Sylacauga is that Main Street area. So that was the original town. But when the railroad came in 1886, a lot of that downtown moved to Broadway, and downtown is as we know it today. So that's where the main part of Sylacauga moved, and that's the only part of our history, is that cemetery, where you can touch it and walk in it and imagine what it was like back in the earlier 1800s when Sylacauga was just forming.
Wow. Now, I know, I wanted to know, I don't know how many folks are buried there. It's a rather large cemetery, larger than
it is larger than you think, and it's strangely a very peaceful place. As we're working up there, everyone has noted, wow, this is a nice place to walk around, and it's strangely quiet up there, even though you're right there by Highway 21 and right there in the middle of downtown. It's a very peaceful, nice place to go.
Wow. Well, I know, who is the first person, maybe not the first person buried there, but the earliest birth date, I guess?
So the person that has the earliest birth date is actual Donald Cameron. He was born in 1776, and he moved to Sylacauga from Scotland. And his family is kind of an interesting story, because his family, they were denim weavers. So they did jeans fabric.
Wow.
And then here we go with Avondale here for 99 years, one of the very important parts of our history.
Yes.
And with somebody that originally moved here did denim fabric.
That is interesting.
But Donald Cameron, another interesting story about him is he played the bagpipes. So when you read
Scotland,
and so when you read stories about downtown, you hear about this grove that was next to the cemetery, and how that he would often be found there playing the bagpipes. And I think that Donald Matheson was someone who married into his family. He also played the bagpipes. So you read story about both of them here in town from Scotland playing the bagpipes.
Oh, how neat. Well, you have done a lot of work finding out about the cemetery and about Sylacauga.
Well, we've had so many great people in town that have compiled all that history. I mean, back in '75 was the first restoration of the cemetery.
I remember
and then in 2012 there was another restoration. And there was so much history that they obtained in '75. And you read about these stories, and they were talking to a lot of different people and looking up all that history. So we have some good stories related to these people that are buried up there.
Now, is that used as cemetery? Is there anyone buried there in the last few years?
They ran out of plots and land around 1900.
Okay,
So the cemetery, you start seeing the very early 1900s death dates when you look at the tombstones there, because they had run out of land. But then Miss Fanny Nix Hightower, she lived to be 100. So she lived to 1948, and she was 45 years past her husband. So they opened up the cemetery so that she could be buried next to her husband. And then again, sadly, in 1994, when Mayor James Payton passed away, they opened it again because he was such an advocate for history and saving historical spots in Sylacauga. They allowed him to be buried there.
Goodness. So the cemetery has been around how long, you may have said?
The first person buried there was Mary Ann Oden Stubblefield in 1839. So Sylacauga became incorporated in 1838, and then that was the very first. So it's the oldest public cemetery here in town, because it was, at that time and before that time, people were buried on their family land. And so,
that's true. I didn't think about that.
So we have so many small family cemeteries around here that might predate this cemetery, but 1839 was that.
Goodness. I'm impressed that you know these names and dates without your notes. Yeah, you're talking to me, you're not looking at your notes.
I've been spending a lot of time up there.
You
so
have.
I think it's a lot of it. I hope I'm giving correct facts. A lot of it's in my brain now.
Oh no, I'm sure you are. Well, thank y'all so much. I know you're president of the Beautification Council, is that, and part of the Historical Commission. So you're cleaning up and you're finding out about it from both of those agencies.
Been able to kind of pull those two organizations together to work on the cemetery and get some things done up there.
And I know you've not done it alone. You've had a lot of help. I see.
There's been a tremendous amount of help. And Melinda Dixon has always loved that cemetery, and she has been such an advocate for taking care of it, and crucial in getting all those grants, and crucial in giving me all the information about the cemetery. I didn't research this myself.
Wow.
And then with the Beautification Council, back in the 70s when they restored it, the Beautification Council was a big part of that.
Okay.
And so, finding that out, I thought, why not make that one of our projects again?
Yes,
so I have such a great group of people that have joined the Beautification Council, that are on the board, and I'm definitely not doing this alone. I've got a lot of people that have become passionate about taking care of that cemetery. And it's, that we have a great group that will go up there and check on it and weed eat or pull limbs to the back gate for the city to come pick up, and it's been a lot of fun, I think,
and that is all volunteer, right?
It is all volunteer, and I'm just very excited and proud to have all these people as part of the organization working with us.
That's great. Well, that's perfect for the Beautification Council, making it beautiful, and we do appreciate all you do and all your group does. I follow, I guess, the Beautification Council, or maybe you on Facebook, where I see some of the things you're doing.
And so we've started doing a litter pickup once a month.
Yeah.
We've started, of course, taking care of the cemetery. We're going through working on some of the gardens downtown, and during the historic pilgrimage that we'll talk about later, we're going to have some graphics to put up, some historical graphics to put up in some of the downtown windows, the empty storefronts.
Yes.
And so we'll have a few buildings that have some historical information. So it'll be fun for people visiting town to walk through and seeing some of the history of Sylacauga instead of an empty window.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, Tara, we'll pause for a commercial break, and we'll be right back and talk a few more minutes.
Activity Center offers the senior citizens in the Sylacauga and surrounding areas lots of fantastic activities throughout the week. Sewing, ladies bridge, quilting, game-o-rama, ceramic classes, bingo, travel club, and lots more. It's all at the Maxie Veazey Senior Adult Activity Center, located next to the J. Craig Smith Community Center in Sylacauga. Don't spend any more time alone. Get out, make new friends, and have fun.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Sylacauga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Sylacauga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
The all-new Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our remodeled and expanded pharmacy gives us the space to serve more patients. We've added a drive-through window for those times when you don't feel like getting out of your vehicle. And we still offer delivery within city limits. We feature a full line of over-the-counter medications and supplements. And don't forget our stunning new gift department. New building, same great people. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Tara Douglas. We're talking about the Sylacauga Cemetery behind CVS. That one.
Right there behind
yes,
CVS.
Right there behind CVS. It's the oldest cemetery in the last remaining part of Old Town Sylacauga.
It is.
Well, we're talking about all the cleanup, and I know you sent some pictures of some before and after things. I know.
Absolutely.
You got the Beautification Council's worked so hard. Oh,
and this is part of what the Historical Commission did, because there were so many of those tombstones that have been damaged over the years, and we hope it's not vandalism, but also we have big limbs that fall down, so it could be that limbs have hit these. And so we got grants to properly restore those tombstones, and then here's an example of one that's put back together. So Robert Wilson was one of the early land developers here in Sylacauga. So we've got you know, like we mentioned, a lot of history up there. So we've got veterans of the War of 1812, the Civil War, we've got Masons, we've got merchants, we've got doctors, we've got quarry owners, we've got so much history there, and you want to see it preserved and saved. So that's what the Historical Commission has done, is to try to get those grants to repair where the repairs are needed. And so that was a beautiful example there of a repair. And then this is the entry. When we first started cleaning up the cemetery, that was September of 2022. This is what we walked into. So we started trimming and cleaning up all around the sidewalk, and it's been a complete transformation. But one thing that helped recently the most is we had Steve Bolin of Alabama Pressure and Soft Washing.
What a difference.
He came by there. I contacted him to ask him to go by there and look at it to see how much it would cost to get it done. And he said, you know what, you're doing, the Beautification Council is doing so much for the community that he wanted to do that at no charge. So he did that beautiful work for us without charging us. So
that's wonderful.
And that's what our group, the Beautification Council, it's all volunteer work. I mean, we have people going out there and just using their time and resources and helping. And
time is sometimes one of the hardest things for us to get.
It really is. It is. And we've got, and here's an example, we'll kind of jump around here. This is, of course, a tombstone that was repaired, but the Hurd brothers are buried up there at the cemetery. And the Hurd, they were early quarry owners. And so they also came from Scotland. And to tie them in with Donald Cameron, George Hurd, so there are three brothers, and George Hurd was the businessman. The story goes, I don't know that this is historically accurate, but the word on the street is that he was able to obtain the bagpipes from the Battle of Waterloo. And those are the ones that Donald Cameron and Donald Matheson were playing in the Grove all those times. So
I don't know if
that's true. That's pretty interesting.
It makes a great story, though.
But George and John and David were the brothers, and John was known to be able to carve more letters on a tombstone the fastest, and he was just known for that. And his brother David was the one that did the beautiful sculptures. So we saw those two pictures of the tombstones where we had I believe there were interlocked hands there, and then the one with the weeping willow tree on it. They were known for those kinds of carvings, and David was the one that did that. So he was known to bring Sylacauga marble or Alabama marble to statuaries. And so they were an important part of our history, an important part of the marble industry. And so as you walk through that cemetery, you see so many examples of their work, and you just think, that was back when the tools were crude, when it was so much harder to sculpt, and they did some very beautiful work. And you can see the very large tombstones, they're in pieces, because you think about how hard it was to ship things back then, that they did all the larger work in pieces so they wouldn't have such a heavy piece of stone having to go somewhere, that they could just be put together in other areas when people were using their work for other cemeteries across the state or the country or wherever they went.
Interesting. I've always heard of the Hurd brothers as related to our marble. Are they buried there, or just there?
All three of them are buried there. So, and another early quarry owner that's buried there is Joseph Madison Napoleon Bonaparte Nix. So I love to say his name because that is such a mouthful, but they called him Alphabet Nix.
Too many letters,
obviously.
Yeah.
But Alphabet Nix, he was also an early quarry owner. His was in Sycamore, and you know, he and the Hurds, and of course Edward Gant, are all the early quarry owners here in Sylacauga. And Alphabet Nix had his finishing plant in Wetumpka, and his early, so in 1848 they started building the Washington Monument, and they asked all the states to send a piece of stone or marble from a quarry there in the state as a representation. And both of the pieces that came from Alabama actually got 2 pieces, came from Gant's quarry, but Alphabet Nix finished them at his plant in Wetumpka. And so that tied all of that in.
That is exciting. And the Washington Monument's still there today.
It's still there.
That is interesting. All right. Do we have some more pictures?
I believe we have one other picture of, so there's an example of some of the beautiful carvings that are up there at the cemetery. And we've got well, here's an example of wonderful members of the Beautification Council, Patty and Lou Peters. They actually moved here from Washington. We knew them in Washington, and Lou is a sculptor, and they came and participated in the Marble Festival and fell in love with Sylacauga, and we're so fortunate to have them to have purchased a house here and move here because Lou's a blacksmith. So that picture you just saw was what the fencing looked like before Lou straightened it all out and fixed it. And so that is,
is that like an iron fence?
It's an iron fence. And so with his blacksmith skills, he was able to take pieces of it home and straighten it. I know. And there were a lot. I have a picture even before that I didn't give to Chris, but it was full of weeds too, because the city's done an amazing job cutting the grass and making sure everything you could get up there. But you know, a lot of those burial sites had a lot of weeds within the fencing, so we were able to get that all cleaned up, and it's I was floored at how beautiful that work was that Lou did with that fencing.
And he took the old fence and just...
all he did was straighten it out.
And it would be real easy just to throw it out and put up a new one, but you don't want that.
You don't want that. You want the original. And with the cemetery being on the Alabama Register of Landmarks and Heritage, of course we have to go through historic rules and laws of reparation. So with something like that, if he's going in there to straighten it out, we can do that. You know, otherwise we have to get permission and have to have certain things done if you're going to replace something. But if it's something from that period, then you can restore it and make it beautiful again, and it stay in the cemetery where it belongs. So that's what Lou did with those pieces there.
Well, I can't wait to go on one of the tours and see it.
It looks so much better, and like I said, there's so much history up there that it's fun. And we've got a new brochure that we'll have some brochures there at the cemetery and some at the library and the museum and the Chamber of Commerce, and that way people coming into town can pull out that brochure and they can see some history, because we've got some about 24, 25 people listed on that brochure, and little stories about them and some of the history there. And the Historic Commission, again, got another grant to put little plates at each tombstone that can give you a little bit of a little sentence or a little blurb about their history, so that you know, okay, this is the talking point, this is what I need to look up on the brochure.
That's good, because sometimes the name just doesn't ring a bell. Like the Hurd brothers, if you don't know that won't mean anything, except they were 3 brothers that lived here, but a little sentence about what they've done.
And then more information in that brochure. And then you can also read, some of those names you don't necessarily recognize, but there are a lot of people still here in town that those are their ancestors. Oh my goodness. And it's very interesting to learn that history and the connection with people that we know.
That's
and
true.
You realize that was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago.
Right. It's still in their ancestry. That's interesting. Well, we're going to pause for another commercial break, and we'll be right back and talk some more with Tara.
There's a lot in life to smile about. Are loose dentures or missing teeth keeping you from enjoying the things you love? Don't miss out on enjoying life's precious moments. You can be you again with affordable mini dental implants. You can smile again, laugh out loud, and have your self-confidence back. Let us help you make it memorable.
I'm Dr. Rick Redmond. Call me today for a free consultation and give me the opportunity to change your life.
Great. What am I going to do now?
Time to visit Brown's Auto Collision.
No problem at all. We've contacted your insurance company and we can get you back into original condition right away. And I just want to remind you that all of our work is covered by a lifetime warranty. We're done.
Wow, that was easy and looks great.
Brown's Auto Collision.
Where quality is no accident.
The all-new Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our remodeled and expanded pharmacy gives us the space to serve more patients. We've added a drive-through window for those times when you don't feel like getting out of your vehicle. And we still offer delivery within city limits. We feature a full line of over-the-counter medications and supplements. And don't forget our stunning new gift department. New building, same great people. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Thank you. Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Tara Douglas, and we're talking about the Sylacauga Cemetery. You're president of the Sylacauga Beautification Council and also work with the Historical Commission, so you are very involved in the cleaning up. I know you've done a lot of the handwork in the cleaning up. Yeah,
and had a lot of help, of course.
Oh, I know. But it's got to take somebody to get you together. That's great. Well, now, we had a few more names we wanted to talk about. Talk about James Lanning.
So James Montgomery Lanning has an interesting story because he was walking through here from Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Think about how far he was walking.
Yes.
And he had to stop to buy some shoes. I imagine he'd worn out his boots walking that far.
Sure.
And the store owner here in Sylacauga, when he stopped to buy those shoes, convinced him to stay and work for him. And so he didn't walk here to live here. He's just walking through here. I have no idea where he was going. I'm sure that's written up somewhere, but I'm sure he had a plan, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he was just wandering around, figuring out what to do, and walked into Sylacauga, and he decided he would stay. And he ended up being a very successful merchant here for 40 years. He had one of the businesses right there in Old Town, downtown.
Okay,
It wasn't Old Town then, it was just town.
Right.
And he was the first postmaster and had the post office at his place downtown. And so he has kind of an interesting history and an important history here.
And he's buried in the cemetery.
He is buried up there in the cemetery.
Goodness. And Mary Phillips Cannon.
She has an interesting story. So the Cannon home is the home right next to McDonald's now on Fort Williams. And the story is that she sadly had several children die very young.
Yes.
And it was so traumatic to her that she didn't want them buried. So they had an octagonal outbuilding. And Jonathan and I drove by there this morning so I could see if that building was still there, and I couldn't see through all of the bushes and trees. And I wasn't going to get out and walk around in someone's property. But in that outbuilding, they put the coffins of all her children until she passed away, and then they buried her and all of her children next to her up at the cemetery.
Oh my goodness. It's a very tragic story.
And they're right there as you walk into the cemetery to the left in the corner. That's Mary Phillips Cannon's her burial spot, and then they've got the children buried next to her.
Wow. Well, I'm just impressed. Like I said, with your knowledge, you may have some notes there, but you don't look at them. That's great. And I know you guys are planning to work on keep this as your project.
We are. Right now it's in presentable form for the fall pilgrimage.
Oh, yes.
And we plan to do a little more sprucing up out there and just make sure that it's in good shape. But it's at a point now where we can just watch it and make sure that we keep on top of it and maintain it.
Right. Could you use some more help? And how could someone?
Absolutely. I mean, we could always use more help. I mean, the Beautification Council, we meet the first Thursday of every month at the Chamber of Commerce at 5:30. And, if you want to join, it's $25 for an individual to join, and there are different levels to join with businesses or organizations. And that's how we raise a lot of our money. We will end up doing some fundraisers, and we've had some donations in the past that we've been fortunate to be able to use. But we're always looking for help, and I always tell people that even if you want to come help us, you don't have to be a member if you don't want to be a part of it. You can just come and help us pick up litter, or help us pull some weeds, or knock down some dead branches at the cemetery. And we just have different projects going, and just generally have a good time going out there. But we of course enjoy people joining us, and people becoming part of the membership.
Good, good. Well, I know the push to get it ready was for the pilgrimage coming up October 27th and 28th. Is there a special program out there at the cemetery?
There is the switching gears from the Beautification Council. The Historical Commission has put together, with Linda Dixon working so hard to get a group of people together to be there to represent 8 to 9 of the burial spots.
Okay.
And so we have some people that'll be up there dressed in period correct
Oh,
clothes,
my
and
goodness,
they'll be acting out the part of that person that's buried at that spot. But we also have some people that are descendants of those that are buried there, and some people that just are connected in some way that are there that may not be dressed in period correct, but just are going to tell the story of that person. And so we're there Friday the 27th from 3 to 4 with the actors in the group that's volunteering. And the First Baptist Church also has that time slot from 3 to 4. And so, some people will be over there, and the senior pastor, Rick Patrick, will be giving tours of the First Baptist Church. And, it's going to be, you can go to either or go to both, or just, show up and walk around at either spot. And Rick's presentation will tie into the cemetery because there are a couple of stained glass windows there at the First Baptist Church that are dedicated to people that are buried at the cemetery. So, the Flukers have a one that's dedicated to them, and then Washington Wilkes, who was in the Baptist ministry for 45 years. He's buried. He was known as the poet of the South. He's buried up there at the cemetery, and he's got one of the stained glass windows dedicated to him.
I'll have to go when I go to church. So I have to look at it.
You'll have to look it up, and then you'll know who those people are.
Now, and there's not a charge or anything.
There's no charge.
Do you have to let them? Do we need to let you know we're coming, or just
show up? And then we're also there that Saturday. There's a time slot from. Is it 12:30 to 4:30?
Yes.
That's that Saturday where you can wander anywhere around town. So we won't have the actors there Saturday, but we will have people giving tours up there, so that as people are here for the pilgrimage, because we'll have people from across the state, and hopefully a lot of local people will be interested in it. And they can come and walk around and in any of those times. There's no charge for any of that.
Good. Well, I'm very excited about this coming up because, I've had people ask me, well, do I have to pay to go to the pilgrimage? Do I have to register? For the meals and things where there is a charge, yes.
So there's at the beginning of the pilgrimage on Friday, there is a lunch at Purcell Farms, and there is a charge for that, and they'll give a lot of their history. And tying them to the cemetery, I tie everything to the cemetery. They have ancestors there at the cemetery. So the Odens, who were very early settlers here in Sylacauga, and we got that, the Mary Ann Oden Stubblefield, who was the first person who was buried there. She's one of the Odens. Well, an Oden daughter married a Parker, and a Parker daughter married a Purcell. So, so they have Parkers and Odens buried up there at the cemetery. But there is a charge for that, and then but all of the library activities that evening, the reception. Any local people can come to see Dr. Wayne Flint talk, and come to the reception and see all the beautiful things going on around the library.
Well, please do. I know you've seen it on Facebook or just seen it around town. This is big to me.
It's a privilege for them to have chosen, for the Alabama Historical Association to have chosen Sylacauga for that fall pilgrimage. So
let's do turn out. I think it'll be fun. I'm excited about the things going on. And thank you again. I know you and Jonathan run Broadway Spinal Care, and you're so involved in our community with things like this and other things. We certainly appreciate it. We're glad you're here.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be home.
Good. Well, and please reach out if you want to help clean up sometime or want to help. And please come enjoy the things going on with the fall pilgrimage, October 27th to 28th. Thank you for joining me, Tara.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us on Library Connection.